Local Women Magazine presents Local Women Podcast, the show for things that matter. Keeping an Eye on It podcast from Local Women Magazine is brought to you by Cathedral Eye Clinic, Northern Ireland's leading eye specialist.
Hello and welcome to a hot and steamy panel podcast from Local Woman. This is the Keeping an Eye on It podcast, sponsored by Cathedral Eye Clinic. Gosh, it's hot, isn't it? Is it just me, girls, or is it really hot?
No, it really is warm.
It really is. I was wondering if I was just having, one of those moments, but no, it is very hot. And we're going to have thunderstorm this afternoon, apparently. So we're back. I'm back with two wonderful ladies. This is the podcast where I bring my friends in and we have a good old chinwag about things that are annoying us, things that we've seen in the papers, things that we find important. So with me today, it's my right-hand woman. It's Jane Hardy. How do I explain this woman? Maybe you should explain yourself. She's a writer. She's a broadcaster. She was a royal correspondent. She interviewed Margaret Thatcher. Oh, all the drama groups in Northern Ireland don't really like her because apparently she gives bad reviews.
On the Robin and Jane in the stalls.
Yes, she has her own podcast, right, where she savages local Amdram societies. Listen, having been an Amdram, I would rather have that, because at least you're honest.
Well, I suppose Amdram varies from very good to hamdram.
I've been in hamdram and it was fine. I've been in hamdram.
Yeah. No, I think all theatre is good. All theatre has its place, But you have to pay people the compliment of reviewing them seriously.
If somebody's buying a ticket, if somebody is paying £15 to £20, which it is these days, because Amdram's a bit dear.
No,
if somebody's paying that for a ticket, I'm entitled to go, I didn't think much of your man.
Yes.
Like, I'm not, but obviously I'd be nicer about
also,
it.
If you praise everything, then praise is worthless, isn't it? It's like the standing ovations we get absolutely all the time.
Yeah, we get a lot of those these days. I do like a standing ovation.
Well, yes,
I like a standing ovation.
But when have you last been to the theatre and not had a standing ovation?
Gosh, yeah, they were just happening the whole time. When did that start?
I don't know. It started about within the last year or so.
Did it start at the same time as people clap whenever the plane lands?
No, that's been going for years.
Has it?
Like, I was 5 and we clapped when we landed
Cara,
in Florida.
by the way, sorry, this is Cara. I haven't even introduced her. She's already starting. Let me introduce you, Cara McGillion. How can I explain Cara? She's a singer. She's a superstar from Oma. She's a singing teacher and an all-round good girl. She's on TikTok too. She's a wonderful girl and she's going to be our youth voice today. Say hi, Cara.
Hi.
How old are you, Cara?
23. I'll be 24 at the end of the month, so.
Oh, we'll have to go out for birthday drinks. So it's good because quite often the ladies on this Keeping an Eye on It podcast are of a, more mature vintage. We are,
Yes.
we're the older. So it is nice to get a young person and find their perspective. So let's go with our 3 topics. It's going to be a good one, girls.
Keeping an Eye on It podcast from Local Women Magazine is brought to you by Cathedral Eye Clinic, Northern Ireland's leading eye specialist.
Right, girls, let's just start off with a tough topic. It's the royal family. Okay, maybe it's just me, but this summer, I suppose August is kind of the slow season. There's been an awful lot about the royals. Like, it started off with a lot about Meghan and Harry. Yes. And I did wonder why it was constant Daily Mail. Obviously, no one admits to being a Daily Mail reader, but we know you all are. It was constant articles about Meghan and Harry and how terrible they are. And I did wonder, why is there so much about Meghan and Harry? Then landed this amazing book. Have you read this book? It's out this week, and it's by a man called Andrew Loney, who is, I guess he's a biographer, a writer, and it's about the House of York. So that is the Duke of York and his delightful wife known as Sarah Ferguson. This book, girls, if you haven't read it. Yes. This is some of the most salacious stories about the royal family I have ever read in my life. I read it in one sitting. Now, some of the stuff we can't even discuss here, although apparently they're not going to sue. And he's triple-checked all his facts. So basically, I think to sum this book up, this couple are the most depraved couple. I don't know, they're just the money they spend, the things they do.
It may be significant that the first and only time I've seen Prince Andrew, and that was quite close to. Yeah. He was visiting Whitstable where I was. I stopped with my shopping from the supermarket, load of people there. And he had a laugh and looked up at the pub behind him, and it was called The Smack. And I think that might be significant. I remember when he and Seth Fergie got together, it was told that they were good time boys and girls. Let's just put it like that.
Yes, I think that's a lovely way of putting it, that they're good time boys and girls. There's a lovely anecdote in this story, in this book, that apparently whenever he was about 6 or 7, he was on the royal yacht with his mammy, and one of the sailors said, "Come here, laddie," and he went, "I'm not laddie, I'm a prince." And I thought, whoa, okay. So apparently this has been a theme throughout his life, that he doesn't really know his place. Well, he thinks he knows his place. He is a prince.
And he's the one royal that most people will say they have their doubts about, that they love the royal family.
Yeah, I think that's putting it lightly.
They have concerns. And apparently he has a load of cuddly toys that have to be arranged in a certain pattern on his bed by
Needless to say, he doesn't arrange them. He doesn't arrange them.
No, he doesn't arrange them himself. So all these bunny rabbits and things like that line up, to accompany the royal personage to
and
sleep.
he takes, the maid has to take a picture and then put them in the right position. Cara, what do you think of that? As a young person, you're our young person here. Are the royals relevant to young people?
I don't know. I mean, I'm like the next person. I like a good wee scandal, like especially in the age of social media, like especially on TikTok. Like every time I flick on TikTok, Harry and Meghan are there.
Oh,
and
they're constant.
They're constant there. And I think I wasn't brought up on the royals. I didn't know much about them until it was the big royal wedding was the first time I ever sort of.
By you say the big royal wedding, we think of Charles and Di. You're thinking of
Will and Kate.
Will and
okay.
Kate, yes.
Like I remember Mum wanted to do her shopping and I was like, no, you have to do it online on Tesco so we don't have to leave the house so I can watch the royal wedding.
You wanted to watch the royal, and what age were you?
I was, how long was I? I was still in primary school.
2011?
So, yeah, I was P7, so I
you
was
wanted
just
to watch
going
the
into
royal wedding,
Yeah.
and your sainted mother was like, "Really? Is this how I raised her?"
Do you know what? I think they were the first sort of ones I sort of looked at, but then after that, I think in the days of social media, you know too much about them now. There used to be that air of mystery and that, you don't know too much about them. And I think with social media, with The Crown, and with Princess Di's like big interview, you know too much about them now. And it's like they just stop being idols and start being like, actually, you're just a pain.
The Crown, of course, that wonderful show that we've all watched, and we're glued to it as if it's real life. We're glued to it going, oh, well, that must have happened. I know young people love The Crown because it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's very interesting what you say, Cara, because what we're seeing is that they're real, ordinary people. And that's a problem for the monarchy, I think, because they need to keep their distance. And yet, since the Queen, she made a documentary, actually, about the royal family. I think it was in the 60s or 70s. Yes.
It was shown once and then shelved.
It was shown once. But there was a historian called Walter Bagehot, a Victorian, who said that unless the royal family keep their mystery, which is exactly what you said, then they lose their power over the populace. They lose their magic. They lose the idol status, and they become no longer celebs but ordinary, or perhaps ordinary celebs in a way, and that's a problem because do we want to finance ordinary
I was about to
celebs?
say they're ordinary celebs who we're paying for, let's face it.
I think the big problem there is though whenever you had the likes of, so obviously Will married Kate and Kate was kind of like bred to be somebody of high regard, I would say.
No, I don't.
She was a
think
commoner, but she's not
entirely
really a
was.
commoner.
She
Come on,
she was a commoner.
She's
but
not
she
a commoner like me and
She's
you.
not a commoner like me.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But she went to a very good school and got lucky. And then went to the right university, yes. I mean, her grandfather was a miner, I think I'm right in saying.
But was he really, or did he run a mine? Who knows?
No, I think
this is true. Was he actually down pit? Was it?
I think it's been a meteoric rise. Let's put it that way.
But
which
she
is
was
fair play.
groomed for that role, and apparently she took a gap year because she's a year older. How do I even know this stuff? She's a year older than William, so apparently they both got into
St Andrews.
St Andrews. She was meant to go to Glasgow, and then he was going. So then she changed her degree.
And they both studied history of art, which is interesting.
He didn't initially study. He studied geography.
Did he not?
No.
Good heavens!
And,
there we
and
are.
that how I know this makes me fear for myself. He was studying geography, I believe, and she convinced him because he wasn't doing very well because they're not the brightest. Allegedly.
Allegedly, yes.
Where she is quite bright, and she said to him, "Why didn't you do his history of art with me, Wills?" Or I don't know if that's what she said
called him,
because I wasn't there, obviously.
No.
But I imagine she said something like that.
I imagine she did, and the rest is history. I actually covered that royal wedding. I was in the vicinity, and that was quite good fun because
The
we were all
Wills
waiting.
and Kate one?
Yeah, the Wills and Kate
Yeah,
one.
it
We were
was
waiting
nice
to see her
back then.
dress. It was, yes.
Yeah, there was a
Things-
bit of a resurgence then.
There was a good atmosphere,
Yeah.
and also I went along to the Harry and Meghan one, and that was quite fun too at Windsor Castle. I mean, I was outside, obviously not inside.
It actually wouldn't surprise me if you had done a reading at their wedding. Actually, if you said, "Oh, actually, I was passing round
If only, because there was a lovely atmosphere then.
Yes.
And you felt the royal family was turning a page because she
They
came
put the
from a
scandals
slightly different background,
They put the scandals
didn't she?
behind them.
And they put the scandals behind them. But no, it hasn't worked out that way. And one very cynical photographers are always cynical, said, I give it 2 children and 4 years.
We're on, well, but they've got to, they were married 2019, 2018,
Yes.
something like that. Well, we're on to year 7.
On to year 7, so they're
2
doing
children.
well. Yes, they're doing
They
well.
have had a lot though since obviously like stepping away and going like over, and I think the big interview they did as well. Like I think that definitely
Oprah Winfrey one. Yeah,
Yes.
it was awful.
in my age group, in my eyes, it was like they always had that level of mistake and mystery, and then whenever they literally come out and did the tell-all of their version, because you know every story has 3 sides, when they did the tell-all, it was like, oh, okay, right, they are normal people, but I always held them to a sort of, okay, like they're above us. But then actually whenever Harry was out partying and it was in the papers and Meghan done Suits, and I watched her in Suits for years.
Did you watch? Did you?
Yeah.
We have now found our first Suits viewer. Did you watch Suits before Meghan was famous?
Yes.
And did you like notice her?
No.
Oh, right. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't the
She's
biggest
very pretty,
fan
like-
of her. She's
Yes.
gorgeous, but I liked.
But she wasn't
what's
a main
the
character.
redhead girl called? I loved watching her, and I just love Suits in general.
Yeah.
But I didn't watch it
For her.
post Meghan. I watched it pre Meghan.
Right, but you did see her in it.
Yeah,
So
no, I
you
seen
knew
her,
who
but
was,
she didn't really catch my eye. Like,
No, she was just another girl in Suits. Right. Okay. I've never met anybody who's
Interesting.
watched Suits.
No, neither I.
That's quite interesting. So the scandals.
surprised.
Let's get back to the scandals, and of course the House of York, which is now
Yes.
getting an absolute thumping through the newspapers. We do
is.
remember the original scandal. You're too young to know this. So back in the day, a much younger Sarah Ferguson was caught. What's the word? In flagrante.
She was, but there was a photo of her involved in toe sucking.
That's what it was. It was honestly like it was
Which was
1990. Right,
quite shocking.
It was 1992. So my last year at
Yes.
school, and I remember it was in the Daily Mirror, not the Sun. For
No,
some
it
reason, the
wasn't
Mirror
in the
got
Sun,
and
no.
it was over. I think it was over something like 36 pages off the
Yes.
Daily Mirror.
Yes,
Oh
it
my!
was.
I mean, what a scandal! And it was this sort of fuzzy picture of Sarah sitting with her feet up on the lounger.
Yes,
and
that's
this
it.
guy, was it Steve Bryan, or she had a
Yes,
couple
I
of
think it was.
lovers,
There were
or
a
there was a
couple of
John
lovers
guy
at
as
the
well.
time.
She had a
Yes,
couple of
it
like
was John.
lovers, and he was like he had her foot in his hand.
Yes, he
And
did.
he was kind of like nuzzling her foot.
Yes, he certainly was.
And it was just such a. It was there for all to see. In 1990, now things were different in 1992, Cara.
was
did
that
not discuss-
staged? Because phones weren't as like you couldn't just whip up and take a photo.
Oh no,
Like,
that was
No,
it.
you
Was a long.
couldn't.
That would have been a long lens from a paparazzo
camera, yes, it
yeah.
would, yes, from next door, or
Yeah.
wherever they
It was
managed
quite.
to
You
hire
couldn't really.
a
You
spot,
could see
know.
her red hair, kind. Or were they black and white? I'm trying to remember.
I think the photo was actually black and white.
Yeah,
wasn't
you could
it?
you could tell it was them, but this
You
toe
could.
sucking went on, and then apparently then the Queen made them divorce because if we believe this book, which
Yes.
we can do, apparently their marriage was a little open.
Yes. Open as a door.
Open as a
that's
door.
very open. Yes.
Open as a barn door.
Open as a barn door, indeed.
Yeah, so which is fine, not casting any judgment on
No.
people who have, marriages like that. But apparently the Queen said, no, this is enough. We need to close the door.
We need to close
So
that barn
they
door, yes.
let's bolt that door. So they got divorced, but they still live together.
They do. They seem to have a friendship, and perhaps more than a friendship, that has outlasted everything else, all the
But is any wonder?
and everything.
Because basically without him, she's nobody.
No, and
So
she-
she's Sarah Ferguson. She got stripped of everything, didn't she?
Yes,
She's
she
not even
did.
the Duchess of York. She was
No,
stripped.
she's
No, I
just
don't
wrecking
think
my
she
microphone
is,
here.
yes.
No, she was stripped of that. He lost his HRH, didn't he?
Yes, he
through
did
the
lose his
through his
HRH,
dubious
yes.
relationship. You see, the big problem, of course, with Andrew is we have to bring it up. Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes, absolutely.
And
That
his
is the big
friendship.
problem. Yes, and why was he so ill-advised as to give that TV interview and deny everything and deny that he sweated and deny all sorts of things when there are loads of photos with him and, shall we say, young women and Epstein, all in the public domain, and yet he more or less denied everything, and that was problematic, I think.
How do you feel about the whole Epstein thing?
I mean, the whole Epstein thing, like, I'm only really starting to, like, I see if it's on TikTok, like, I'll dive into it, but if it's not, like, I tend not to sort of look at it, but the whole Epstein thing just really fries my brain. But if it's so public, and I know the repercussions of it, but why lie? Like, why be like, I did nothing to do with it, when there's clearly
I can see why he lied.
Photos.
I can see why he lied, because Jeffrey Epstein is a convicted paedophile.
Yes.
Oh, and I totally get that, and I really get that 100%.
Sex trafficker.
It's toxic material, isn't it?
But he needed Epstein because, of course, he had so much money. And, of course, the one thing that the Yorks know how to do is spend money. We're back to the money again.
We're
back to this money thing.
Yes.
Their lifestyles of the rich and famous. The problem with the royals is always going to be that they live a very different life from us. I mean, there was a famous time that Kate Middleton, who, again, seems like a lovely woman. She does seem nice. She seems very pleasant, well brought up. She's not particularly showy. She went along, this was just sort of post-COVID, and she brought the children along to a food bank, to do that thing like, oh, look at the poor people, So they were at this food bank, and they were explaining that lots of people had to make use of this food bank, and Kate was said, oh yes, it's great. There's such things like this, and you're like, no, it's not.
No, it's not great.
It's not great that there's food banks. I totally get what she meant. But that's how out of touch they are.
I know, there is out of touch and there is out of touch. My nephew is always saying, how can you like the royals because the king, or Prince Charles as he then was, carries or takes around with him a leather-covered loo seat, apparently.
What?
A what?
Apparently this is true. I can't
a
possibly have made...
leather-covered loo seat.
Yes, I can't possibly have made that up.
So he puts it... So if he comes to Hillsborough Castle... Somebody, a flunky, isn't that what they're called, goes in.
Flunky,
and
yes, exactly.
allegedly puts on this.
Allegedly,
how hygienic would a leather-covered loo
Wouldn't
seat
be. I know, it sounds odd, doesn't it?
Be warm.
Yes, it would be.
In case the royal bum gets cold.
Exactly.
Yes. This conversation is now descending into...
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
No, but it's descending into sort of
apologise.
farce, because whenever we talk about these people, it is sort of farcical. And I know there are the people who absolutely adore the royals. I grew up with the royals. I remember being in P2 and getting a lovely spoon of Princess Diana and Prince Charles. It was I went to school in Bush
commemorative
Mills,
thing, yes.
And we got a lovely commemorative spoon. I got a Princess Anne one as well. I think we got a Fergie one. It was gold coin. I had all. I loved that stuff. I had books and sticker books and stuff as a kid. I liked that kind of thing. But they lost their mystique.
They have lost their mystique, and that's the problem. And I don't think there's anything they can now do about it, actually. No. And I think it's particularly sad about the Harry and Meghan split, actually, because he has lost an awful lot, whatever you think of him and the way he's treated his family and the way he's dissed them, if you like, and brought things to the fore that perhaps should have remained private. At the same time, he's lost his role, he's lost his identity to a certain extent, he's lost his job, he's lost his country.
Yes.
I mean, they don't live here, and you feel that he misses all of that, or you feel that he must miss it. And miss being properly royal as well.
Glad
they
that
thought
I'm
they
not
could have
royal.
it both days.
Imagine you
ways.
Grew up like that. Imagine you grew up and you're royal, but you're a spare. You're not an heir.
No.
Like what kind of a life is that?
Well, look at Princess Margaret. That was the problem, wasn't it? Yes.
I think it's like the problem. Well, not the problem with the royals, but I think at the minute, because they've lost their mystique, it's all pure scandal based. But like I know there's time. Like my mum and dad have been fortunate to meet Charles and Camilla pre-becoming King and Queen consort. Right. They met them at the anniversary. It was one of the anniversaries of the bombing. Mm-hmm. And they had met them. And I remember Mummy coming home and I was like, well, how are they? Like, were they all like posh and proper and all? And Mum was like, actually, she said something to Charles about having 2 kids. And he was like, oh, we all know how that's like. One's always harder to manage. And he was like, pleasant. Spoke how we would speak to each other. And I was like,
I've heard that,
right,
but they're very, very pleasant.
So whenever it comes to that, like, they're like us in that sense, like, they could just chat to you. But I think what brings the problem up, especially for my era of my generation, is it's just all scandal. You don't hear them nice stories as much as you hear them.
Which is a real shame, because I know to a lot of people listening to this who really like the royals, and I know what, like they do bring a lot to people. People who meet them really sort of feel special. They make people feel special
They do.
They do so much good work that we don't hear about. Princess Anne, I think last year she did something like 500 engagements, and she asks the press not to be there for most of them, and she makes people feel special. She knows everybody. They do a lot of charity work. Yes, I get it. They do.
Is it Prince Edward? Is the other one?
Prince Edward, and then he's married to Sophie, and people love them.
They do a lot. They do a lot, yeah.
And they get on with it, and she does a lot for women.
And obviously, Kate, when she went through her cancer journey, or is she still going through it? But she's done a lot for cancer patients and bringing awareness and helping them. And you feel that she is, if you like, a decent human being.
She said a lot of them seem to be decent human beings, just a bit. Their upbringing didn't really help. They had a sort of strange upbringing.
There is always one black sheep in the family, though, isn't there?
And that, if you believe this book, is Prince Andrew.
Yes.
Local Women Magazine presents Local Women Podcast, the show for things that matter. Keeping an Eye on It podcast from Local Women Magazine is brought to you by Cathedral Eye Clinic, Northern Ireland's leading eye specialist.
Transform your home with style and grace. At Decora Blinds Belfast, we offer elegant, made-to-measure blinds, blending beauty with functionality. From vibrant Alumatech aluminium Venetians to stunning shutter blinds, each available in a range of colours and slot widths. Wood or PVC Venetians, you'll hardly know the difference. Add tapes for that extra touch of luxury. Discover timeless design. Discover Decora Blinds Belfast.
Don't just picture a new look. Step right into it at Glen Hill, Stockman's Way. Explore Belfast's biggest media wall displays with bespoke designs from Mavonic and Alir. Plus, stunning multi-fuel stoves and fireplaces. Find your modern way of living only at Glen Hill, Stockman's Way, Belfast.
Keeping an Eye on It podcast from Local Women Magazine is brought to you by Cathedral Eye Clinic, Northern Ireland's leading eye specialist.
Right, ladies, it's exams week, and this is going to roll on to next week. The A-level results are out. A lot of futures are hanging in the balance, and next week, of course, with the GCSEs and, of course, the NVQs and the BTECs, all that. But is it all a big fuss about nothing? I know today there are going to be children who are absolutely gutted. I mean, they just are, because it's all very well, like we're going to open up the paper tomorrow and it's going to be jumping for joy. And it's going to be all these, gorgeous looking, very clever students bouncing about with their 9 A's, their 3 A stars off to Oxford. Great for them, and I wouldn't take that away. But for the majority of people, their exam results were, like mine, a little more modest. How shall I put it? Modest. Yes. My exam results were modest because I didn't really apply myself. I wasn't really interested. I didn't know what I wanted to do. But look at me now. So I was sort of wondering, do exams even matter, Jane?
I don't know. They matter to certain institutions and in certain careers, I suppose education being one of them. And it's strange because you need maths GCSE to go to uni to study English. Yeah. I needed it. When I wasn't very good at maths, I got through on a packet of Polo Mints and memorising a whole load of ruddy theorems that I couldn't tell you about now. That's the point. I couldn't tell you about it now. No, they shouldn't matter. I think it should all be coursework, actually. Yeah. I think that you should be judged on what you've done in school, in essays, in study and research and whatever. But the awful thing is, you do remember the exams that you didn't get quite what you wanted to get. And I remember that I didn't get my first at uni, and I was 6th in the year, though. Now, how sad is that I can tell you that now? It's pathetic, isn't it? It shouldn't matter. And as you go on, no, it doesn't. I mean, I was at She magazine in London, journalism, where I started out. And I was there with people, well, my editor didn't have a degree. One of our best journalists didn't have a degree.
Most journalists don't have degrees. I do laugh at this. Can you do the job? I'm probably I'm 51 and I'm the kind of first age group of journalists that actually have degrees, because there was no such thing as a journalism degree. You went to tech and did shorthand and typing, which actually I did as well after my degree. Yes. But I'm probably the first era of journalists. Anybody older than me doesn't have a degree.
No.
So and they don't need one. Although they do now.
It's interesting. I mean, no, there weren't journalism degrees. There were people there with degrees in other things like me.
English.
But English, yes.
Yes, and that's really, really useful. So, I mean, my English degree stood me in such good stead. Shall we talk now about the metaphysical poets?
Oh, let's talk about John Donne. Yes,
yeah,
why
I really
not?
like John. I often look. Do you often find that, Cara, things you learnt in school, do they really matter now? I have an A level in Latin, and I'm just back from my holidays in Italy. There, nobody understood me. Funny enough, they didn't understand me. I tried, but they didn't understand me.
Maybe an A-level in Latin would help me when I'm singing all the opera stuff, but apart
It
from
probably
that,
would actually. Yes, it would.
But I do think as well, I was the age group, the year I actually didn't sit my A-levels, but I got results. It was the year of COVID.
Were you a COVID
I
baby?
never sat my A-level exams, and I remember growing up, it was the hardest exams you'll ever sit your A-levels and blah, blah, blah. I actually never sat them. And then I went to university and I did a practical degree. So I actually think, there's so many people now I know that have done my degree that aren't even working in the field they've done their degree in.
What did you do?
I done a year musical theatre and then I went and finished off with a drama degree in Ulster University. So I actually only graduated last year, so I'm a fresh out of uni baby. But I do honestly think they don't teach you the practical stuff. Nobody taught me how to, only apart from my mum, but nobody taught me how to do my books as a self-employed girl. And nobody taught me how to organise your own house and things like that. That was taught from my mum, but I do think there needs to be more practical awareness in schools.
I mean, we have boys here, particularly boys, because I am the mother of a boy. Why are we forcing 15-year-old boys to learn geography? Why do they need to know about an oxbow lake?
No, they don't. I think that the things that should be taught at school should be money and relationships and maybe civic duties, as well as maths. Yes, I think that is quite important. And English.
Maths is quite important.
See, maths is important to an extent, but when have I used Pythagoras' theorem in my daily life?
Does anyone remember does anyone remember what Pythagoras' theorem
or
is?
the different types of triangles that?
The triangles are useful. I think the triangles are useful if you want to put up a bookshelf or something. Are they not for your angles? Are they not for your angles?
Yes,
they're quite useful.
Yes, they might be.
Does anyone remember the radius?
No, I don't.
And not. Does anybody here remember anything?
Not
one thing. How many degrees are there in an angle
no,
standard,
a right
90?
angle is
right
90
angle?
degrees.
I couldn't even remember that it was called a.
Yes.
I couldn't even remember that it was called a right angle. Okay, 90 degrees.
Yeah.
So in a triangle, there's.
Yeah, but it just depends on the type of triangle. Because you have all the different types.
Isosceles triangle.
Acute triangle, and all the whole thing.
No, it's
so
acute angle. Yeah.
Oh, angle, not triangle.
No, that's all right.
Well, same thing.
Let's have an acute triangle. Why not?
An acute angle. Yes.
There's one of them that's all different sides as well.
Obtuse.
There you go.
Obtuse. Yes, very good.
It does come out. You do remember little bits and pieces.
But this must be the first time I've spoke about it since I'd done it at GCSE Maths.
Yeah. We're just not learning the right things. I think we do have a bit of a one size fits all. And I think there's people out there today who are sitting and they've got 3 Ds in their A levels. I got a D in my A level French. I speak fluent French. Merci beaucoup.
De rien.
But then I went to France for 2 years and learned how to speak French.
Yes.
And do I speak French now? No, I don't. So it's useless, really. But yeah, so I always think for people out there who are sitting with 3 Ds, what can they do? Plenty.
Yes, they can do plenty. They can go and get a job or do something where that they're interested in. I mean, that's the key.
Yeah.
What you need in any particular job, in any career, is enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And you look at people who've really succeeded, and a lot of them don't have degrees and didn't get particularly good grades at school.
And aren't particularly good at what they do.
And may not be, but they have enthusiasm and they've achieved. I mean, what makes somebody successful, do you think? What do you think?
I do think, I wouldn't say that degrees and letters after name and thing make somebody successful. I think as long as you can live to a life that makes you happy, I think that's success in itself. I think there's a lot of pressure now on people to be the societal thing of success. I mean, I know myself, I took a gap year.
Yes, I took a gap year.
I remember going to my mum and dad and being like, I can't go back to uni. My granddad just passed away in the August. I knew I just couldn't go back to uni. And I remember being so scared to tell my mum and dad, but actually they were fine with it.
Yeah.
And now I would tell my friends, if you're not feeling it, take a gap year, figure out what you want to do. I went into a company and I didn't have the experience. I went in as an admin assistant. I remember when I did the interview, the mum was like, you've no experience, but you can talk for Ireland. So I got the job.
Yeah.
And then I worked my way up to the point then I was like an accounts executive and I was working with people's money and I didn't have an A-level in maths and I didn't have a degree in actuary or things like that there, but I was able to work my way up within the company. Now, eventually I did go back to uni because it was a personal goal for me to get a degree, but it wasn't like my mum and dad never pressured me once you need to go back.
Yeah.
When I told them I was going back, they were like, what?
Are you
You're going back to study?
Yes.
Because she actually tells me now all the time, she's like, you need to step away from education at some point.
Yeah.
But like, I know then, like I was able to talk my way up. So there's plenty of people can, as long as you have the interpersonal and personal skills to talk to people, I don't think you need a degree.
Yes.
How much do you owe in student loans? Do you mind me asking?
Well, I know from my year, my year in Liverpool was the same as my 2 years here. So it's $9,500 to study for a year in Liverpool, and that is going up. Ouch. And it's $4,500 to study here. Plus, then however much I got in student loans, like to pay for my accommodation and things like that there. So I would say I owe quite a.
I was the
quite a
first
lot.
year, so I went to university in 93, so I was the first year that they brought in the student loan. They had frozen all the maintenance grants. So I went to Sheffield, so they paid your fees, obviously, your fees were paid, and then you got a term, so you got 3 terms of grant, even though it was
still
in
get that.
semesters. They had been frozen, but it was something like the first term I got like 1,200, and my entire rent for that term was something like 700.
Yes.
But then you were entitled to an £800 loan, which I took just to buy clothes, like literally just to buy clothes. And then that went up. So I left university, I think, with 3 £800 loans. But I literally spent that on going out and sweets, you know.
But now you have the issue where the loans don't cover the student accommodation anymore.
Oh.
So you have students going, especially in Liverpool. So if you're in England, you can get up to £9,000 in just the loan you get in your pocket. Whereas here there's a limit on like 4 or 5 grand. But here they take a lot more in tune on what your mum and dad own. But no harm. I was in Liverpool. My mum and dad weren't going to be paying my rent for me. I had to be a big girl and grow up.
Yeah.
So I don't understand.
Sorry, I had my phone on there. That's just bleeping. Sorry about that.
Why they take so much heed on what your mum and dad earn or your household income. Like, I'm not living at home.
Yeah.
So there's people there that are getting absolutely shafted. Like, I know a friend that's in London at the minute studying musical theatre. That's an intense degree in itself. You're in 9 to 9. You're there all the time.
Yes, of course.
He is now busting his backside to work in the evenings. He's like not getting home to 3 a.m. and he's getting back up for college. And he's actually nearly affecting his health, his mental health, his physical health, just to try and afford uni.
Make us all sick, Jane. Tell us about your day and
Well,
the money
of course,
that was lavished upon
Well, the point
you.
the point was because at that point my family was relatively okay financially. I didn't get a grant. I was paid for on the whole by my mother.
But your fees were paid?
Yes, my fees were paid. Yes, they
Yeah.
were. So it was lavish, and we had high tables, and we were fed. I mean, we all put on weight, you know.
Yeah, your fees were paid. That
Our fees
wasn't
were
even a
paid.
thing.
No,
I
it wasn't
remember
even a thing. No,
that
it wasn't.
I can remember the letter came through from the Northeastern Education
No, it was-
Library Board, and it was so
it was
funny. The
free.
woman who was in charge of fees and grants was called, wait for it, Miss Grant. I wonder if Miss Grant is still, but she couldn't be still there, but she was called Miss
Here, you
Grant.
never know.
So it came through, and it was like,
Yes.
you have been awarded, like, and it was thousands. It was great.
Yes.
So I've got a part-time job just for socialising. Sometimes you got a job just to have a job.
To
have the crack.
You weren't
Yes.
in any particular financial
Strain.
diffs.
No,
No,
you
and then
weren't,
you went
no.
away and worked all summer to make you.
So-
But yeah, it was fine.
So
don't
I
know-
never had a
I don't know if I would
debt
advise
to pay
anybody
off,
to go
you
to
know.
university unless you're going to be a doctor or something like that.
Yes.
But how could you really? Oh no, I have all this ahead of me. My son is
It's
17.
different.
But I think as
Yes,
well,
you
like,
have.
I have a younger brother who done his GCSEs. All he wanted to do was pass them. As long as he passes maths and his English, he was happy. He's now doing an apprenticeship and
Great.
thriving. So I do think there's a lot less practical experience. So then you have people that have done degrees that are going into jobs that have no personal skills, couldn't sit and have a conversation with me and you, but could sit and write in books for hours.
Yeah.
And then you have the ones that have hands-on experiences in apprenticeships that are going straight in.
The apprenticeships are great.
They're
It's a
amazing.
good
We did a
idea.
feature actually in Local Woman about that. NIE are offering apprenticeships and they're really for women. They look amazing.
Yes.
Like those girls are out there climbing up poles and
Make
doing
you
all
want-
kinds of stuff. It looks
Yes.
brilliant.
Make you want to go back with
Like
it.
it really does look great. Like their jobs, they all like wrote about it, for these features.
Yes.
They look great.
Yes.
What a good job. Like what a
That's a
good
good
career.
idea. And also, we should be a bit more like Europe, where they value jobs like plumbers and,
Yes.
plasterers and so on very highly and,
Yeah.
and give good sort of non-academic qualifications there. And that's, you're not regarded as downgraded if you do an apprenticeship or you do something practical, because that's what we need in society.
I do think, don't quote me on this because I'm not don't know how factual it is, but I do think Northern Ireland is going to have a problem very soon of people that aren't doing apprenticeships, and like all our sort of trades, like there's not a lot of pushing them. Plumbers, electricians, joinery. Like I know like people that like are nearly pushed away from joinery, pushed away from mechanicking, and you're looking going, you need that. Like getting an apprenticeship for my brother was very hard. People won't take on apprentices because they don't have the experience. But how are you going to gain experience if you don't get the job? It doesn't make sense.
Value here, and they do in France, is waiters and waitresses as an actual career.
Yes,
like I know they've tried that big. There was a big campaign recently, make your career here, and it was all about being, joining, hotels. But the pay is so bad. Yes, it's not taken seriously. Whereas in France, if you want to be a waiter, you leave school at 15 and you go to a special catering school where you learn all those skills. So you're not thrown in. Whereas, like, whenever we were waiters and waitresses, we were thrown in when we could hardly even carry a plate.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think there needs
to be a major, one too many plates. I think in my day
there needs to be a major rethink. There really does. Because and honestly, if anybody's listening to this who hasn't passed any exams, guess what? It doesn't matter. Yes. It doesn't matter. I know it matters today and it feels really bad. And people who didn't pass their 11 plus, they're made to feel like they failed from age 11. That is so wrong.
Like I had never any pressure to go to a grammar school, but I had it in my own head. I want to go to grammar school. All my friends are going there. I got a C in my transfer test. And at that stage, it broke my heart. I cried all day. My mum was like, are you okay? Old. I was 11 and I was so heartbroken that I didn't get to go to this grammar school. I then went to an integrated school and I made some of my best friends and it was one of the best things I ever did. But I was so heartbroken that I wasn't getting to go to this grammar school. But actually, what difference did it make?
None.
Me and my best friend have the same degree. We have the same qualifications. There's no difference.
Absolutely none, honestly. So if you're listening to this, or if you're the mother of a child who has failed, as they say. I heard that on the radio the other day. Some broadcaster said something failed. You haven't failed. No. You just haven't passed your exams. That's not failure. That's just not passing exams.
Is that word's thrown about far too much at the minute?
Go and do something else. There's a big wide world out there. Yeah. Go and do something fun.
That you want to do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Local Women Magazine presents Local Women Podcast, the show for things that matter. Keeping an Eye on It podcast from Local Women Magazine is brought to you by Cathedral Eye Clinic, Northern Ireland's leading eye specialist.
Make your living room the heart of your home with Glen Hill. From media walls to fireplaces, stoves to electric fires, we blend traditional charm with contemporary style. Visit Glen Hill, Stockman's Way, Belfast, or glenhill.co.uk. Glen Hill, affordable quality for over 40 years.
Transform your home with style and grace. At Decora Blinds Belfast, we offer elegant, made-to-measure blinds, blending beauty with functionality. From vibrant Alumatech aluminium Venetians to stunning shutter blinds, each available in a range of colours and slot widths. Wood or PVC Venetians, you'll hardly know the difference. Add tapes for that extra touch of luxury. Discover timeless design. Discover Decora Blinds Belfast.
Keeping an Eye on It podcast from Local Women Magazine is brought to you by Cathedral Eye Clinic, Northern Ireland's leading eye specialist.
And finally, ladies, let's talk about signs that we're finally grown-ups, because I'm sitting here obviously with two very grown-up ladies. As I was wheeling out the bin this morning, glamorous, I thought, I'm finally a grown-up. Like I had that feeling whenever I woke up this morning, it's bin day, and I was all biz and I had to running down. I just thought, this is it. I am a grown-up. So I thought, taking out the bin and sorting out your recycling, that is a sign that you're a grown-up. What about you, Cara? Are you a grown-up yet?
I mean, I don't want to be a grown-up yet, but I think my biggest sign that I was a grown-up was getting an accountant, having my own accountant to do my own books. And that was my biggest, oh, wow, okay, I'm in the big bad world of something here, which is why I was like, no, it scared the absolute hell out of me when I had to get an accountant. Yeah.
It's sad, isn't it? It's sad being a grown-up. Are you a grown-up?
I don't think I am a grown-up yet, although I think signs that one is grown up are a mortgage, buying a house, that sort of thing. This is a very strange story, but I bought a house in France when I was about 19. And I didn't keep it. I should have done. I've been bad with money all my life. And that's why I think money matters ought to be taught in school. Yeah. Definitely. I loved it, and it was next to a tiny vineyard and then next to a graveyard. It was in a little village, not that far from Avignon, so in a nice part of France. Then there's a long gap till I own my own house again. And I remember buying a house in Belfast and taking out what seemed like quite a large mortgage, and that was quite scary.
And what was the mortgage? People weep. What was the mortgage?
Well, the mortgage was, it ended up being over 100k.
That was a big mortgage.
Yes, that was a big
I think my
mortgage,
first
wasn't
mortgage
it?
was...
Yes.
My house was £52,500 and the mortgage was £40,000, and the repayments on that, and it was a three-bedroom house in Coleraine, the repayments on that were £270 a month.
Wow.
Can I go back and buy a house in your day and age?
I know.
Yes.
Like, see, at the minute,
Easy,
like we were looking at houses, myself and my partner, and 185,000 was the lowest we found, and that's in...
Come and live near me in East Belfast.
Are they cheaper? Because
they are.
like we're looking Craigavon, Lurgan
Oh, no,
direction,
come
and
and
they're
live in East
so
Belfast.
dear. They're
Come
so
and live
dear.
near me.
I have to say, this was during the boom. That was why it was so much.
Yes.
It was when, it was silly money, and suddenly you got lots of £1 million plus houses everywhere. And I remember I was working on Home Finder at the Belfast Telegraph, and it was bigger than the Sunday Times property supplement.
Do you remember that?
At
And
the
then
time,
Job
yes, I
Finder
do.
was massive as well.
2006,
Job Finder and
yes, it
Home
was.
Finder were
they
huge.
Were massive, yes.
Yeah, back in the day. I remember my sister was living in North London back then, and her house went up for sale, and it was in de Beauvoir.
Oh, yes.
Which, and it was £60,000. £60,000.
You buy a
That
car for that
house, and I remember her asking Mum for a loan, and Mum was like, "Oh,
Yes.
that's too much money." So, that house is now worth 600,000. I mean, easy, maybe 800,
Yes,
probably more.
yes.
It was a 2-bed, top level flat in de Beauvoir in Islington. Yeah, probably 700,000-800,000
Yes,
pounds.
I'm sure.
£60,000 mortgage at the end of the 90s.
Makes me want to
Put
cry.
me
I'm
in
not gonna
my
lie.
time
It is.
machine.
It's terrible.
Put me in my time machine now. And on that bombshell, ladies. So today we've talked about the royals. We've put them to bed.
Yes.
So if the royal family are listening to this, indeed, do get in touch for any PR advice, because I think we'd be quite a tight team.
We would.
We've sort of sorted it out for you. If you want to move forward and people to like you, I think we could sort that out. The other thing we discussed is A-level results, and we've decided it doesn't matter. There are no
Yes.
passes, there are no fails. There's just living. And we have discussed being grown-ups and decided that none of us are grown-ups. That's all from the Keeping an Eye on It podcast from Local Woman magazine, sponsored by Cathedral Eye Clinic. Thanks very much to Jane Hardy and, of course, to Cara McGillion, my two wonderful guests today. Thanks to my producer, the ever-suffering Robin Elliott over in the corner there, who's not got a qualification to his name, to be quite honest. I'm kidding. He's got lots of qualifications. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Local Women Magazine presents Local Women Podcast, the show for things that matter. Keeping an Eye on It podcast from Local Women Magazine is brought to you by Cathedral Eye Clinic, Northern Ireland's leading eye specialist.